What's up everybody and welcome to yet another video on Ragnarok Online Origin Classic. Today we'll be talking about the latest changes with the Lord Knight build, especially surrounding changes on the new Aura Blade. Now with the most recent update, Aura Blade has had a change in its multiplier. Now instead of doing 700 plus base level times 10, multiplied by a skills modifier damage, now Aura Blade is dealing 700 plus base level times 10 times your ignore pdef divided by 250 as a fixed damage source that ignores pdef. Now this makes very significant changes to the core build of Lord Knight, especially surrounding Ymir or auto attacks, and today we will be talking about the few ways that you can best utilize this latest change, because after this change there's a lot of changes compared to the previous video, so make sure that you check out this whole video knowing all of the changes. Now, the new Aura Blade is going to be dealing fixed damage. That means that whatever your multiplier is, based on your ignore pdef and your base level, that will be an additional fixed damage that is added on to whatever skill you use. Now, if you're using auto attack to trigger Aura Blade, that damage is reduced by half. But if you're using skills, that is going to be doing full damage. So that is going to be the basis of the few builds that I'll be talking about today, because it will be very significant depending on what sort of resources that you have. So make sure that you choose the right build for what your character currently has. Now, one of the few ways to fully utilize the Aura Blade is actually with the Baphomet MVP card. Now, if you have the Baphomet MVP card, the best build you can run for the Aura Blade LK is actually an auto attack sort of build. Now, generally, most of these builds surrounding the Aura Blade is going to be the same. The only difference is if you have the Aura Blade, all you really want to do is just going to be auto attacking. The rest of the build is pretty much the same regardless of you using sturdy or auto attacks, so it will still be the same. Now, I don't have a Baphomet MVP card, so I'm going to be showing you the second build that you can play with the Aura Blade LK. It is the Sturdy Strike Auto Attack Hybrid. Now, one of the few most significant changes from these current Sturdy Strike build with the one in the previous video is that ignore pdef is now a very important factor. Ignore pdef becomes one of the biggest multipliers of your Aura Blade damage. So the number you want to reach with your ignore pdef is about 2000 to 3000. I opted for 2750 because it gives me the best sort of damage for survivability ratio. Now, with this 2750 ignore pdef I currently have, I can still be having 4.3k raw pdef and 1.3k raw mdef with a huge ton of p damage and damage reduction. So that allows me to play a very frontliney tanky role while still being able to do very good DPS against both supports and other DPS characters. So I find that this is the best balance in terms of the builds. Now, depending on your feather progression or your divine armament traits, you can opt to go higher or lower, but the most important thing for a Sturdy Strike auto attack LK is that you do need a certain level of survivability, because you are a very melee character and you will be in the front lines more often than not. My feathers currently look like this. I've reduced some of my some of my time and space feathers and added them to my defense feathers, which is into divine, nature, and night. That allows me to have very high pdef and mdef while also still having 2750 ignore pdef, which allows me to have a total multiplier of 24,000 fixed damage that I will be able to deal in addition to whatever my Sturdy Strike currently deals. Now, one of the main things that I do not focus on Sturdy Strike damage at all. Sturdy Strike only accounts for maybe 10 to 20% of the total DPS output. So I just really fully focus on Aura Blade damage, which means that because Aura Blade does not take into account size, race, and P damage. That allows me to build very tanky because I don't have to care about P damage, I don't have to care about demi-human damage. That means that opens up a lot of avenues to make myself more survivable, and also allows me to have a lot more different options in terms of the cards, the enchants, the guild skills, and so on. The skills for the new Aura Blade build LK is pretty much the same as previously. There's one core difference, is that now you have a lot more value from the bash. That's why you have to get the Fatal Blow. And because there's a lot of skill points that we get to reduce from needing skills like concentration in the third job, we can get more levels in increased recuperative power to unlock Tension Relax in the trans second job. Second job skill looks pretty much the same. This time we max out Sword Quicken. Sturdy Strike is maxed out for the additional reduction that we can get. And otherwise everything else pretty much is the same as the previous Sturdy Strike LK build. The only difference, the major difference, is in the trans second job skill, where we have only one level in concentration, but I went for max Tension Relax. You can also go for just one level in Berserk for more level in Joint Beat if you want. But otherwise, the core of the build is of course going to be you have to max out the Aura Blade for the maximum amount of multiplier. Because Aura Blade damage does not scale with P attack, P damage, size, or race, that allows me to go all in towards defense, and having just minimal ignore defense guild skill to allow me to reach that magical 2750 number. If you have you can balance this depending on your feather levels. If you have lower feather levels for attack, you can put more in towards ignore defense to help you reach that 250 sort of level, so that you can increase your multiplier. My medals also, because it does not scale on P attack and P damage, I reset all my bravery and heroisms to level 1 and instead put them in towards PvP damage bonus and reduction. Now, Aura Blade damage is slightly affected by PvP, but after several tests, it shows that the PvP multiplier for our Aura Blade is so negligible that it doesn't really matter. The only reason I added this into Meta of Hope is so that I get additional PvP reduction that allows me to be slightly tankier in the front lines. My divine armaments are also focused on survivability because again, it does not scale with P attack or P damage or skill damage or anything of that sort. That means that I am able to use the Guardian's Radiance build for additional survivability and reduction. I am using the Ymir weapon because every other weapon just does not make sense. Firebolt does not proc the Aura Blade effect. Excalibur is great. Actually, Excalibur might be a decent second choice, but because we're using Sturdy Strike, the auto-casted Lion Roar is going to be just additional damage for you if you use that. Turf Ring is decent as well, but again, Ymir is just the best weapon out of everything in the one-hand slot for this specific build. Card-wise, it is pretty different compared to the previous video. Now that you do not need any P damage, size, or race, it means that there is a lot of options for your weapon cards. I talked about the Baphomet MVP card. If you have it, you can definitely use it. The Illusion Baphomet is unusable, so you have to, if you have the Baphomet MVP card, that is a potential for you to use out. If you don't have the Baphomet MVP card, the next best card that I've tested is going to be the Griffin card. Griffin card is bowling, auto-cast Bowling Bash at a 0.5 second cooldown, and this Bowling Bash is also affected by Aura Blade, which means that every time your Griffin triggers, it is just additional Aura Blade damage for you. Now, if you don't have the Baphomet or the Griffin card, the next best few cards you can use is actually anything. You can use Requiem, you can use Skeleton card, you can use Xehanort card, you can use Golem, you can use any form of CC cards that you like, because again, Aura Blade is not affected by P attack or ratio or size multipliers, so you can really just put in CC cards as you wish. Frioni and the Illusion Frioni is important for you to be able to hit other LKs because of parry, but otherwise you can really just use Griffin. If you don't have Griffin, again, like I said earlier, you can use Xehanort, Skeleton, Requiem, any form of CC card on your weapon that you like. Shield card remains the same, you just want double Taras. The armor slot, you can really just put in anything you like. I prefer Creamy Fear for other LKs. For cloak, you can use any form of reduction that you want. You can put the fire reduction, you can put wind reduction depending on what opponents you face the most. Shoe card has to be double Moonlight because additional move speed. It also stacks with your Peko Peko move speed, so you can really be zooming, especially in the Vigrid Avenge map. For the accessories, it is very important for you to have 3 Bongun cards. Regardless of their upgrade, you need to have 3 Bongun cards because Bongun procs Bash, and Bash also triggers additional Aura Blade damage. Now, there is only a second skill on the auto cast slot for the accessory that triggers the Aura Blade damage, and that is the Orc Archer card. Otherwise, Stemworm does not proc Aura Blade. You do not want to use Stemworm. You do not want to use Wingos. The only 2 card options here are Bongun and Orc Archer if you really don't have Bonguns. And of course, the final card slot is filled with the Furious Pouring for the additional charge attack, or you can put an Osiris or Illusion Osiris here for additional reduction. Headgear card remains pretty much the same. Now that Aura Blade is not affected by size or race damage, you don't need the Goblin leaders anymore. I just put in a Rose Armament for the additional HP, and once you get it to 2-star, you can actually get another 1% PNM damage reduction from the Rose Armament. Mouthwear remains the same using Doppelganger, backwear, and the costume remains the same cards. For the accessories, you can really just use anything you want. I was using Golden Foot Ring prior to getting the Starry Aegis, but now that I have Starry Aegis, I'm going to be being able to utilize the additional reductions that you get from the Starry Aegis. Is also one of the best accessories for survivability. Now, if you don't have the Starry Aegis, you can really just use anything you want. You can use Brooch if you're missing attack speed, for example. You can use Golden Foot Ring if you want. Since that we are running pretty high VIT, you can also run Necklace if you want to. It is a very flexible slot. I do not recommend going for Cosmic Eye Ring for the attack speed because, again, 150 dex is very difficult for you to reach because most of your stats will be focused on VIT and Agi. The enchants are pretty unique because the armor and the accessory slots are now fully focused on attack speed. You can go for attack speed or edgy enchants. You can also use range boon, but range boon does actually have very low attack speed. So if you can get agility or attack speed, that is the perfect enchantment for your weapon accessory slot, because again, Aura Blade damage is not affected by P damage, size, race, or P attack. The other enchantment slots remain basically the same. Reductions everywhere you can get, PvP or ignore PDEF if you need additional ignore PDEF on the backwear as well as the headgear slot. If not, you can go for PvP technique and agility if you have those enchants. Costume remains the same, just being the PvP technique. My auto settings look a little bit like this. I have, of course, Aura Blade, Sword Quicken, Concentration, Pairing, Sturdy Strike, as well as Auto Attack. That is all for the attack. Usually in PvP, I will remove the Sturdy Strike. I will manually cast the Sturdy Strike for maximum damage. But if you're lazy, you can just really put the Sturdy and Auto Attack in the auto settings. The Astral Core and the pets remain the same for this new updated version of the LK. Stat-wise, we are going for max agility and max vitality. You want at least 100 vitality to be able to get Cavalier Mastery and Berserk without a penalty. But otherwise, it is a pretty straightforward build. You just want to make sure that you have as high attack speed as possible, especially in case if you are playing against a professor and you get the spell constantly, you want to close out your auto and just use Aura Blade manually and auto attack with 500 attack speed. The strength of this build is that the pure damage that you get from Aura Blade is not able to be reduced by anything at all. It cannot be reduced by P-Def, it cannot be reduced by P-Damage reduction, it cannot be reduced by size or ratio modifiers. There's no reduction for the Aura Blade damage, so that means that you'll be doing the minimum of depending on how much PDF you have, you will be doing that amount of fixed damage to anyone at all. That includes DPSs and supports, which means that you are one of the most viable support killers out there. I'll be showing you a few clips of its performance in PvP, so check this out. Now tell me another class that can solo kill a performer in less than 10 seconds. The Aura Blade LK is one of the actually most balanced but also strongest PvP DPS class out there right now, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And I hope that this video will be able to help you, point you in the right direction for the updated builds for the Aura Blade LK. And if I missed out anything, please let me know in the comments, or if you have any questions regarding this build, please leave it in the comments as well. That's gonna be all for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and this is gonna be Zero signing out. Peace, see you in the next one.